Jason pushed open the glass door of the small family restaurant, shaking off the evening drizzle. He was exhausted after a long week at work and only wanted a quiet meal before heading home. But the moment he stepped inside, his feet froze. There she was. Across the dining area, in a plain black apron and carrying a tray of steaming plates, stood Emily, his ex-wife. Her face was a little fuller, her steps slower, her hand instinctively resting on her swollen belly. Pregnant. Jason's heart lurched. They hadn't spoken in 2 years, not since their bitter divorce. He had imagined her moving on, perhaps with someone better than him, but never like this, waiting tables, clearly struggling, and carrying a child. Their eyes met. For a moment, the room fell away, the chatter, the clinking cutlery, even the music. Just two people, once inseparable, staring across a gulf of pain and unspoken words. Emily blinked quickly, forcing a professional smile as she approached. "Good evening, sir. Table for one?" Her voice was calm, but he caught the faint tremor. Jason's throat tightened. All the anger he had once carried felt meaningless now. Instead, a wave of concern washed over him. How had she ended up here? Was she okay? Did she have anyone by her side? As he sat down, he realized this dinner would be nothing like he'd planned. Fate had just served him something far more complicated than a meal. Jason shifted uneasily in his chair, watching Emily scribble his order on a notepad. She avoided eye contact, her practiced smile too polite, too distant. "Emily," he said softly, before she could turn away. She froze, just for a heartbeat, then forced herself to look at him. "It's Mr. Carter now," she corrected with quiet dignity. "At least while I'm at work." Jason's chest tightened. He hadn't seen her in so long, but he could read the weariness in her eyes. This wasn't the woman who used to dream out loud with him about traveling the world, starting a family, building a life together. The restaurant was half full, yet Emily moved like she was carrying twice the weight of anyone else, balancing trays, soothing customers, rubbing her lower back when she thought no one noticed. Jason noticed every detail. When she finally returned with his meal, he couldn't help himself. "Emily, are you okay?" She let out a breath, lowering her voice so others wouldn't hear. "I'm fine. Just doing what I have to do." His gaze dropped to her belly. "Is it?" Her jaw tightened. "Not yours, Jason. That part of our story ended a long time ago." The word stung, sharper than he expected. But beneath her defenses, he heard something else, loneliness. Jason nodded slowly. "I didn't come here looking for answers. But if you ever need help, you don't have to do this alone." For the first time, her composure cracked. A flicker of pain, then gratitude, softened her face. And just like that, the bitterness between them shifted into something different. Fragile. Human. Real. Jason lingered after finishing his meal, watching Emily juggle her tables. He noticed how she winced when standing too long, how she discreetly wiped her brow, and how she forced cheerfulness for every customer. It was the kind of quiet resilience that broke his heart. When the dinner rush slowed, Emily finally stopped by his table, arms crossed protectively over her stomach. "Why are you still here, Jason?" she asked, her tone more tired than sharp. "Because I want to understand," he replied simply. Her eyes searched his, as though deciding whether she could risk opening up. At last, she sighed. "The truth? The baby's father left when he found out I was pregnant. My parents, they've cut me off. So, it's just me. Rent, hospital bills, work, everything." Jason swallowed hard. He had imagined many scenarios, but not this. She wasn't just surviving, she was fighting alone for 2 lives. "You shouldn't be doing double shifts on your feet like this," he said. "It's not safe." Emily's laugh was hollow. Safety doesn't pay for cribs or doctor visits. Besides, I don't have the luxury of choice. Her words landed like stones in his chest. Once, he had failed her as a husband, too consumed with his career, too blind to her needs. Now, fate had given him another chance, though not in the way he ever expected. I can help, Jason said firmly. Her brows furrowed. Jason, we're not together anymore. I don't want your pity. It's not pity, he said, leaning forward. It's humanity. You're carrying a child, Emily. That child deserves better. And maybe I owe you more than I ever gave. For the first time, she didn't look away. Her silence said more than words ever could. The following evening, Emily nearly dropped the tray in her hands when she saw Jason again, this time not at a table, but standing at the counter, speaking with her manager. What are you doing here? She asked, suspicion flashing in her tired eyes. Jason straightened. Relax. I just asked if I could cover your shift pay for tonight. You need rest, Emily. Her cheeks flushed with indignation. You can't just swoop in and play hero. I don't want charity. He nodded, expecting her resistance. Then don't think of it as charity. Think of it as me paying a debt I should have paid years ago. I walked away once when you needed me. I won't do it again. Emily's lips trembled, but she shook her head stubbornly. Jason. Please, he interrupted gently. Let me do this, just one evening off. Go home. Put your feet up. Sleep. For you, for the baby. Her defenses faltered, and for the first time in a long while, someone's concern felt genuine, not transactional. Slowly, she untied her apron, every movement hesitant. Later that night, Jason showed up at her small apartment carrying groceries and prenatal vitamins. Emily stood frozen at the door, torn between pride and relief. You can throw me out if you want, he said, holding the bags. But at least let me leave these. She didn't move. Her eyes filled, not with anger, but with something softer, something she hadn't let herself feel in years, trust. For once, she stepped aside. Come in. Jason entered quietly, setting the bags down. It wasn't about rekindling the past. It was about being present, here and now, when it mattered most. A week later, Emily sat on her worn couch, her hands gently resting on her belly. Jason was in the kitchen, clumsily boiling pasta, humming under his breath. The scene was surreal. Once they had dreamed of this, now here it was again, only under circumstances neither of them had imagined. Why are you really doing this, Jason? She asked quietly, her voice carrying both suspicion and hope. He turned, spoon in hand. Because I don't want to be the man who keeps walking away. Not from you. Not from this baby. I know I can't erase the past, Emily, but maybe I can do one thing right now. Her eyes glistened. You're not obligated. This child isn't yours. Jason crossed the room, kneeling beside her. Blood doesn't define family. Love does. And I still care about you, Emily, whether or not we ever find our way back. At the very least, let me stand beside you through this. For a long moment, silence filled the room, broken only by the bubbling pot on the stove. Emily's walls, built from heartbreak and betrayal, finally began to crack. A tear slid down her cheek, followed by a trembling laugh. You always were terrible at cooking, she whispered. Jason chuckled, brushing away her tear. Guess I'll just have to get better. In that moment, something shifted, not a grand reconciliation, but a quiet, human connection. Two people who had once failed each other, now choosing kindness over bitterness. Emily leaned back, exhaling deeply. For the first time in months, she felt less alone. And Jason, looking at her, realized that sometimes the greatest act of love isn't about rekindling romance, it's about showing up when it matters most.